Hello, everybody, and welcome to our author story time this evening. I'm so excited for our guest author as we learn more about her background, what inspired her book, and then we'll actually get to hear a live reading from the book from the author. So, again, this is our opportunity. The reason I create this platform is that we are able to, one, see that it is possible to become an author and for us to be inspired by people's journeys and their stories, and then secondly, be able to have like an inside look behind the scenes of what inspired the writing. So many times we can get a book and we're like, man, I wonder why the author put that, or what inspired that title. And so we're going to talk about those things tonight. As you see tonight who our guest author is, I'm going to have her introduce herself in a second. But as you come in, say hello. And if you have any questions throughout this interview, definitely pose them in the chat and I'll be sure to bring them up throughout. So we're going to jump right into introduction. So go ahead and introduce yourself to our audience.
Hi, I am Monique. My formal government name is Monique Lampkin. I am a middle school teacher here in Indianapolis, Indiana. I've been teaching, oh Lord, giving my age away, but I've been teaching a while. Over 10 years. I truly enjoy teaching. It's a part of my DNA, as they say. I decided to write a book about a little over a year and a half ago when the pandemic really got started, and I really wanted to push myself because I'm a natural creative person and I never had the confidence to go ahead and knock it out. I've always had thoughts and ideas. But I love the Lord. I have a husband and a little 7-year-old girl, so that takes up quite a bit of my time, as working moms are. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell. I consider myself fun. I like to have a lot of fun. Besides that, that's me.
So I am also an educator. I've been teaching now, this is my 13th year, and I started, yeah, I know, I'm like, we done made it.
Girl.
I started in kindergarten, but I had 5 years in which I taught middle school. So when you said
my first year was kinder. I couldn't do it. I love the babies, but I said I got to get.
And you know, it's so funny, when I was in school to become a teacher, I remember telling everyone I didn't want to teach over second grade. Like, I'm like, I want to be with the little kids. I want to be with them. I did my student teaching in kindergarten. I fell in love. I did middle school. And I remember I had to do kindergarten. They had a program we had to do younger and older. So I did kindergarten, and then I ended up doing a middle school assignment. And the teacher I shadowed under, I remember in her classroom, she was like, you should be a middle school teacher. You will be good. And all I kept saying is, look, woman, after this, I'm going back to the younger kids. I felt somewhat intimidated about it. But then once I did, like you said, my first year in kindergarten, I'm like, I don't know about this. I was drained. I lost my voice. It was just a lot of stuff.
Those babies need love and hugs and milk. And I'm like, I need to be able to just, hey, this is what I need.
They took their pills.
And I love my middle schoolers. Those are my heart. I could not, and they're that funky age, so yeah,
I'm with the thing too. And it was all God, because I told myself I was gonna stay younger. The following year, they got an opening in middle school. They needed someone to fulfill it. I was literally supposed to be a temp, and I ended up falling in love with middle school. Like, I just loved. I'm like, wow, this is actually pretty cool. So I share that, and the reason I'm even indulging in this conversation, because I know being an educator, being a mom, all those things impact you as a person. So I'm sure that has some emphasis on your writing and your book and all of that, because again, I believe that whatever we do, we bring our whole selves. So all my experiences, all the things I went through, the kids I interact with, families, are going to show up in my work. And so
it sure does.
Yeah. So I would love to just hear the beginning of the Chubby Seasons. Like, what sparked this? I know you said it's been a little over a year, but like, what sparked to be like, let me do this now?
I was actually sitting in my living room, and it hit me. I had all of these ideas in my head about love, about the teen years. Of course, it manifests. I'm a middle school teacher. And I would always see, it would break my heart, because I would see sometimes how in our community, it's not necessarily represented correctly, or it's always depicting negative, like the love stories and the way we present ourselves. And I said, wow, you know, I remember when I was a kid and I would watch this show, remember Sister Sister
Yes.
with the twins.
Mari twins, yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Like I said, that was such a clean show. You know, it had drama, but there wasn't anything overtly sexual. It wasn't a lot of cursing in it. And I'm not knocking you if that's your thing. But I said, wow, our babies need something to read that is going to be fun, you
They
know,
have
full
to.
of
Yep.
drama, but ain't nobody got to be doing all of that. You know what I mean? And I said, you can have drama, you can have things without the extra. So I said, wow, I need to write a book like that, that represents, like, the Chubby season started with just a vision of a town, an upper middle class African American city. And they're two parent homes, and they're professionals, or, you know, some of them work in trade or whatever you do. But it really showed the true essence of African American, our culture, and it's not overt. So
Yeah.
that's how it kind of got started. And I was just sitting there. I have this thing as a creative, I can't write in noise. I typically write if it's raining, or if I'm just sitting near a window and I just get inspired, or if I'm listening to, sometimes I'll listen, because the book is based in the late 90s.
Okay.
And it's kind of loosely it's tied into me a little bit about how I wish it's like a Black utopia. It's like how I wish our community, I'm from Gary. That's how I wish Gary could be. How I wish I had the confidence of this character in Chubby season. So it started there.
I love that. So let's talk a little bit about that. So wanting this utopia and wanting to create a space for kids, because I also, again, here in Chicago with my organization, I talk to parents all the time. And what you just said is actually a reminder of a conversation I had. So I was a parent who's like, my daughter, she is coming of age, right? But I feel like so many times the content that my child is reading it's too suggestive, right? Or it's things that she doesn't need to have, like you said, have to be a part of the storyline. Like you just wish that part wasn't in. And again, it's no not. But then I think that thing I told her, like that's why being an author is so important, because there's a gap in the need. Like there needs to be, like you said, it needs to be that middle ground. You're gonna have kids and adults who like a certain type of writing, but you need to also cater to the masses, and you know what I mean. And so I think it's so important that you just shared that background. So even with you wanting to write this story, and you said the inspiration is just like what you wanted to see, can you just kind of speak on to what was it like growing up? Like what were the inspirations in this story that people will read that kind of mirror what you wanted to see growing up?
Well, when I grew up, of course, you know, Gary in the late 90s was the murder capital of the world. My mom was a single parent. I love my daddy. Hey, daddy, if you watching. But, you know, he wasn't necessarily around at the time. He had some health issues. But mom made sure I had that utopia. And she would say, you know, focus on your education. You don't have to do all of that. She would always tell me, don't be the last one leaving the party. Don't be that girl, you know. And I was like, what you mean? I'm trying to have fun. So it kind of, I wished that our people, our folk, you know, in Gary, if they had the opportunities and if the jobs weren't gone, I really do believe that's our culture. Like we're actually, you know, not conservative. I don't want to say conservative, but we're kind of like, we're right for each other. We love each other. We're a very deeply rooted community. And growing up, being an overweight kid on the flip side of things, and having those issues of not feeling wanted, not feeling like I always felt like I had to fit in. So I just kind of mimicked this personality. Like, oh, I'll be nice and they'll like me because I'm chubby, and they'll like me. So I became a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
And the character in the book, she starts off being that way, but she has some chutzpah, as they say, or some. Hey, you're not gonna disrespect me. You're not gonna treat me this way, and I didn't have that growing up. So I wrote it from a space of, man, if I could go back and I could live in a town like this, and I could have the confidence to be thick, not unhealthy, but thick and
Yeah.
proud of my body at that time, I wouldn't have let a lot of stuff go on. It got me in therapy, child, but but I wouldn't have let a lot of stuff go on. And a lot of those stories in the book come from that. There is a situation where I had a guy that did not want to date me publicly. He literally, I'll never forget it. I ain't gonna say his name, but he invited me to my friend's house, my homegirl house. She's like, yeah, come over. I like you, woo woo. And I wasn't that type of chick. I wasn't gonna be doing nothing.
Mm-hmm.
But I was happy. I was like, wow, somebody likes me. And he literally did not told me, nope, we can't do it publicly. I'll call you. We could go out, but it can't be public. So there's a boy in the book that does that to her, and how she dealt with it was so much better than me, because my self was like, oh, he liked me, And ladies, you don't have to deal with that. You don't have to accept be somebody's option. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can be the leading star, can be the number one role, and you ain't got to do all that stuff. So that's, a lot of that character comes in the chubby side as well as the utopia for African Americans.
I love it. Even hearing your story, I'm just thinking about how, even for myself growing up, like, it's so important that we create spaces that we wanted when we were younger, or literature we wanted to have read. Like, I'm sure if someone had wrote a book when you were at that point and you saw that, you're like, wait, this is what I'm going through, or this is what I'm feeling. And I think that it's so important that we teach through literature, because for me, similarly, like, it took into me, to be honest, I'm be 38 in a couple of weeks. I would say I've only really become the most comfortable in my skin within, like, maybe the last 4 years ish. And that's through, like you said, just like my relationship with God, with therapy, with going through just circumstance after circumstance of, like, why do I keep putting myself in this way? But again, it goes from, I was at a woman's event and she asked us, it was some younger girls there, and she was like, what was something you wish you could have told your younger self? Right? Like, if you had the opportunity, if you, could go back in time and talk to, like, 12-year-old Jarima, what would you say? And I just remember just thinking, like, wow, I would say what I believe right now is that you are enough.
You are enough.
You are enough. Like, you are beautiful. You are unique. You are you. And you need to, yes, fearfully and wonderful. And you need to gravitate and stay around energy that recognizes that value. And if people don't recognize it, it doesn't mean that you lack it. It just means that that's just not the space you need to be in. And I think it's so important, as, it's kind of like they talk about, like, the elders talking to the younger. And I think that writing is the way to do those lessons, because even as a teacher, I'm saying those same conversations with my students. Like, you don't need to do that. You are enough. You know what I mean? Like,
you are enough.
You are enough. You don't have to get attention,
And I got a daughter, so I'm like, I don't want to see you manifest my stuff. That stuff passed down.
Yeah, because she's watching you, right? She's watching.
Right. We're going to break this cycle. You're going to have something good to read.
I love it. So we got a story. We want to get a message out. So now the process of getting a book done. So was it difficult completing your book, and not just on the actual writing of it, but the publication, finding illustrator, like all that stuff? Like, what was that like?
Okay, so girl, let me tell you. Woo! Okay, so the writing was the writing. That was the easy part because as a writer, only thing that could happen to trip you up a little bit is if you just get in a block, and I would just kind of go channel out or listen, or I'll be watching something and manifest, or I remember a childhood story and then I could just go write it out. The harder part is editing.
Mm.
Um, Editing for me was very difficult, and I'm a licensed language arts teacher. So when you're trained in that mindset, oh Lord, because you're naturally, when you're writing, you want to correct.
Mm-hmm.
It's automatically second nature. And a friend of mine told me, Monique, you have to just write. You got to
Mm-hmm.
let somebody else do it. So the funny thing is, I asked my cousin, because I'm cheap. I was like, honey, can you edit my book? And then my mom said, no, you need a professional. And she was good. She did a good job. But then I hired a professional that can get pricey.
Yeah.
So you want a good website I use, and I'm not, endorsing them or anything, but 5R was pretty good. And I only paid maybe almost $200 for
Okay.
the editor, but you pay for what you get.
Yeah.
Some charge up to $5,000-$10,000 for good editing, like crunch down, and I couldn't afford that. I'm a teacher, so,
Yeah.
so I can't afford that. So when I got done with that, I literally got approved. The key is, when you get a self-publishing, go on ahead and get an author's copy before
Mm.
you publish. That way you can read it yourself.
I like
And I
that.
had like 3 people read it, like beta readers. You can get beta readers, say, hey, can you read my book and tell me what you think, or circle any mistakes that you see? And even then, you still gonna have a couple errors, because I looked in it the other. I said, what, I missed that. And 10 people, it's just your mind, the
Yeah.
brain to hand is something amazing. Lord, I don't know. But that part was hard. And then when it came to the image of my book, I was back. I went to 5R because I'm not an artist. Lord knows I can't draw stick figures. But the guy sent me, like, it was amazing. He sent me like a picture, like this plus size woman, like in her underwear. And I was like, no, this character's 14.
Right.
And I kind of want a clean image, because the book, she's always kind of writing in her purple bathrobe. So I kind of wanted a girl with braids and da-da-da-da-da. And then he sent me this bomb image of like just a shadow of a chubby girl with like her little curly hair.
Mm.
And I said, that's it. Because you have to think, if you're writing just to write, great. But if you want to make some money, you have to think holistically.
Yep.
So I said, wow, if nobody reads this book, because not everybody's into like the cookie cutter Hallmarky book, or my book is sweet, clean, it doesn't go beyond a kiss. So if they're not into that, you have to think, okay, your friends might support you. That's all well and good. But the stranger at the vendor fair, or
Yep.
somebody walking by, who's going to buy that book? So I wanted it pretty. And I know young girls like pretty things. So
Yep.
I made it purple. I said it needs to sparkle. It needs to draw an eye. Wow, I really want to read that. Or, oh, it might look good on my dinner table. I don't care, long as you buy it. You know what I mean? So you have to make the difference between, are you writing for sale, or are you just writing because some people just like to write and just have books on their shelves? But my vision not necessarily was to sell and it would be nice if the Lord allowed me to sell 1 million copies. But I really wanted this book to be in schools. I wanted this book to be, I'm actually in a process of writing a curriculum to go with the book, because it's so deep in regards of young girls growing up, and how the imaging in our public right now is all about a certain thing, or you got to look a certain way, or you got to have a big butt, and this and that, and you got to do this for a guy, that for a guy. And she does not compromise her values. She does not. She honors her body. And not saying, everybody makes mistakes, and we're hormonal and things go on. So I don't want to be unrealistic about teenage life, but there is another way. There is a clean imaging. And there is things that I, like you said, what would you say to your younger self? There is things out there like that. So that, you know, the difficulty of it was definitely editing and definitely finding that that look, the Chubby Seasons look, because this will be a series. So, you know, just that whole imaging thing, woo, nightmare. But
Yes. So you talk about your process, what worked for you, and just like the whole process of, you know, finding that editing and the illustrating. So now I think the most important, just as much as the cover, is the title, right? So when we think about this title, Chubby Seasons, I mean, what led you for that to be the title of the book?
I went back and forth with this. I literally, at first, it was like Chubby Girl Chronicles and this, and that. But I really, my faith led me there because everybody goes through a season, right?
Yeah.
Everybody goes through a season, and the book starts off, it's going to be presented in seasons. So this first book is presented in fall and winter. The
Oh, I like
next book
that.
will be written in spring and summer. So I'm guiding this girl through every season of her life. So when I said, oh, that's it, Chubby Seasons, you know, what season are you going through in your life? You know, so I wanted it to be relatable to anybody, whether you living in the trailer park down the street, or if you living in the hood, or you living on Fifth Avenue in some mansion. Everybody has a season that they're
Yep.
going through in their life, whether it's chubby, tall, acne, whatever. Whatever we've done with has been a season. So that's how I came up with Chubby.
Oh, I love that. That is an awesome connection to, I think, people understanding that the parallel between seasons in our everyday life and also seasons when it comes to just the things we go through. So at this point, what we're going to do is actually, hey, Michelle, we're actually going to do a live reading. Monique should be back in very soon. But again, we are talking to Monique Lampkin, who is talking about her book, Chubby Seasons. I'm so excited. If you are just now joining us, if you have any questions for Monique, any questions for myself, again, these author story times is the opportunity for us to have dialogue. If you are an author, if there's a thing that you want to be able to share with her, just let us know. If there is, you know, any insight that you have when it comes to publishing your book, if you are a publisher or if you are an author, this is that time for it. Once she returns, we're going to do our live reading. She has selected a chapter from the book, and she's going to really just kind of talk through her thinking and her mindset with it. But I absolutely love it. I think so many times, and if you are listening and you are an author, because I work with a lot of schools and kids, what she's talking about is so needed. Middle school girls in particular are really trying to find literature that they can identify with. And it's such a precious and molding time of your life. If you are a young woman on here or a woman on here, I'm sure you can remember being in 6th, 7th, 8th grade, me being a teacher for that grade level for a number of years. They're just really trying to figure out where they fit in. They're trying to figure out whether they are someone who's going to be in this group. Boys, the way they view them really matters. Their friends, they're trying to figure that out. I just remember being a teacher, and during that time when it came to being a teacher and talking about just the things that you went through as a middle school girl, I was just sharing, girl, I got you. We got this, Monique. I was telling
oh man, I was like, I think I lost her.
It went out, but I was just prepping them for this time. But I was telling them how much I love that your book talks about seasons, because
yeah,
that is truly what girls during this time period need. And I was just saying, if they're an author, to really, you know, pursue and try to go after writing that kind of writing, because that's such an impressionable time for a young girl. And I think it's just so important that they're able to see themselves in the things they read. Because I remember when I was teaching middle school, parents would be like, she's not how she's so different when I'm like, look, this is the time when parents stop having as much of an influence as their peers. And so it's so important that they are getting the same messaging all around from what they watch, who they hang with, and family.
Yeah.
Because if
Yeah.
family is saying something and it don't seem like what's cool at school, they not trying to hear it. Boys and
Girl.
girls.
Girl. I was like, look, I told my students, they said, Miss Lampkin, why don't you wear this, or why don't you get Apple or something? I said, Miss Lampkin's cheap. I'm one step away from a flip phone, but I'm trying to retire. So our community, I tell people, I said, we definitely need like more financial literacy. Not saying that you can't be fly. Like I said, you can be fly if you want to be cute, be cute, but be savvy with your money. And I literally, they said, well, how much you make on your book, Miss Lampkin? I said, oh, let's pull out the math. Because Amazon will get you a little bit. You have to really decide how much you want your book to be. And I don't know if you want to get in that later, but the wholesale is better to buy your book wholesale and resell it, because you can make more of a profit. Because Amazon, they do print it, they do deliver it, so that's a headache I don't want. And you can self-publish on multiple sites. Like I'm on Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and I'm looking into some other avenues. But for the most part, I just buy them wholesale. And if you buy 75 books, yeah, it might cost you $200. But if you sell them at $10 a pop, you can profit $500-$600. So you got to think business wise too, and also consider. I made my company, I made it into an LLC, because after everything is done, the money you invest, the creative, the vendor stuff, the photography, the headshots, everything you want to put, if you're trying to make money on your book, you want to make it into an LLC, because at the end of the year, you can, if you keep all your receipts, that's your business. You can write that stuff in there. Make sure you're legal now. Nobody go to jail.
Exactly.
But you could do all of those things too. So think business wise and creative.
I think I'm loving that you dropped that nugget, and we definitely can dive in that more, because I've seen a few people on here who are also authors and self-published, but I think that's so important. A lot of times, and then we're going to get into the live reading because I'm ready to listen to that. But a lot of times we go into the work we do because we're passionate about it, right? Yeah. We're not even really thinking about the business. And I can say that to even be true for my nonprofit. Like, I was like, look, I'm a teacher, I'm a mama, we're going to do some book clubs. It's going to be fun. It's going to be great. And then as you're in the thing, you're like, wait, if I really want this to be a thing, like I need to do the business route of this. Like I need to get money, so I'm not paying out of my pocket, or I'm not, it just allows you to just expand your message. But I think so many times, even if you want to be authors, if you don't know people around you who have done it before, you don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And
you don't know a thing until you get into business. I started meeting other business people, and this lady was like, Monique, you need to trademark Chubby Seasons. I don't know what the Lord's going to do with it, but you need to be protected. So I'm looking into trademark, and that's a little bit more expensive than LLC, but definitely protect yourself and your brand and your investment, because you never know what's going to happen.
Well, on that note, we are about to read and get into a live reading with Miss Monique, and I'm going to pull off stage and be in the audience along with you all. And then as she's reading, if you have comments, if you have questions that we will continue to hit after her live reading, feel free to do that. So now it is you, Miss Monique.
Hi, everybody. Okay, I'm going to be reading out of my first chapter. And here we go. Okay, Woo, you ready? Woo is a nickname my mom gave me, short for Woo Pei, which I never figured out her rationale for calling me that name, but it stuck like glue. I was thinking, am I ready for this? After binge watching Beverly Hills 90210 and watching Moesha, I thought I was mentally prepared for the experience of a lifetime. Would I be popular and date a million boys? Or would I be a lame and be confined to a lunch table full of burnouts reeking of marijuana and no dreams? Or just a girl that didn't exist? High school. The place that makes or break you. The place that would determine if you went to college. Lastly, it was a place where you can make lifelong friends. I remember that day. I wore a yellow and blue pleated skirt that came about mid-thigh. I had black flats for shoes, and a white collar with black circles, buttons going down the front. My hair was perfectly braided in single dark brown braids. It took about 6 hours for them to get done, so it was worth the time. I was dressed just like Moesha and fly, so I thought. The year was 1996, and I was a freshman at Jeffersonville High School. Last school year, I was in middle school, and I was, let's say, not the most popular. I had no boyfriends and barely friends. I never understood why at first. Then I figured maybe it's because I was 6 foot tall in the eighth grade with a belly that slightly overlapped my pants a little. I also had a butt that could flag down traffic. And instead of thighs that were in a need of a thigh master, I had caramel latte complexion with almost shaved eyes and skin like smooth butter, according to my family. My mom even made me get a Jerry curl my 6th grade year. I thought it was cool until my classmates reminded me that style was better left in the 80s. My fashion choices were bordering between horrible and a walking disaster. I pretty much did my schoolwork and watched TV. I would escape into the popularity of TV characters, Brenda Walsh and Moesha Mitchell. It was my only way to escape the horrors of being the joke of every conversation. By the way, my name is Monica Johnson, but in middle school, it was Mon or Big Mon, not the greatest nickname when you're trying to get your first kiss. Now I'm a freshman in a new school district. Nobody knows me here. My mom and I moved over here because the community of Jeffersonville was a step up for us economically. Previously, we stayed about 45 minutes away in Jackson, Indiana. Jackson was actually really diverse. It had every race known to the imagination and was lower middle class. Most people worked in the steel mills that were left, Kmart, or a small business. We had a little apartment that was minutes away from my old school. Our spot had one bedroom from my mom, and I slept on the lettout couch. My mom worked at this little law firm in the mailroom while going to college part time. We didn't have a lot, but she always made it work. At the end of spring, she got a promotion to a legal secretary, but it would have to be in Jeffersonville. It was a big deal because we could afford a bigger place that I could start over. In fact, when she told me about it, she was shocked that I was so excited to move. I nearly broke my foot jumping off the let out couch when she told me we were moving. We found a nice 2 bedroom apartment and I finally had my own room. A friend of hers lived there. I knew the apartment had opened up. Apparently, some couple moved to LA to help take care of a sick aunt. The apartment had a lot of young doctors and young couples just starting out their lives. The most thrilling thing was I didn't have to worry about random people sitting on my bed when when mom had company over. I always had to wait until everyone left when mama had company just so I could go to bed. I had grown to like mommy's friends. They were so nice to me. Although we had so much fun together, I always wished I had friends to hang with and talk about my crushes and clothing choices. Plus, mom had to work a lot, so it was hard to find our girl time. Mom always knew when I needed it though. We would make pallets on the floor and eat Bronco's pizza after rough days at school. My mom introduced me to all the classic movies that gave me hope of finding love one day. I really hope this new job gave us more time together, especially with living in a new town. We moved in June, and that gave me time to look around the town before starting high school. From what I could see, Jeffersonville was an upper class, middle class town where you could get a snarky look if someone, if there were no Christmas lights on your home during the holiday season. These people cared about their lawn so much. If you walked across the grass, the sprinklers would soak you. I came home from the local food spot, Uno's, drenched from accidentally walking through someone's lawn. Apparently, the the dirty look I gave them didn't get them to turn off the sprinklers. The summer flew by, and I spent most of it walking around, writing in my journal. Writing let me slip away into a land of love and peace. It didn't remind me of the bullying I had endured daily from people that for some reason got a kick out of making me feel bad. I glanced at my mother and I got ready for a new start. I walked up the steps thinking, Big Mon is gone. Hello, Monica. Your new life starts now. Do you need me to keep reading?
No, that was wonderful. So even yeah, that was awesome. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so I mean, I just think it's amazing. I think that I'm excited to just I mean, it drew you in. I'm excited to see what's gonna happen next. You wrote very strategic reading that first chapter. Now I feel like I need to read some more. I need to figure out her new life. What you mean? What's the new life?
Yeah. Yeah,
But
she's
that's
starting
awesome.
over.
That is awesome. So, what would you say as we continue on? We have a few more questions. What would be your advice for like aspiring artists and writers who maybe they're listening to you and they're like, man, she just did it. She said this is what she did. She went to Fiverr and
Mhm.
all these things. Like, what would be your advice for someone who may be watching right now?
Just do it. Make the time. I'm a mom. My husband just recently had a really big medical emergency, and back in January, thank glory to God, he's so much better now. But he even was pushing like, babe, don't give up. Like, this is something you want to do for your community. This is something that's bigger than chubby seasons. Like, I really want kids to read and I want them to enjoy reading and writing. So don't stop. Don't let the obstacles get in your way. Get advice.
Mm,
Get advice, seek out other authors because they can tell you where the pitfalls are, what you can avoid. Like, I had a girl tell me, she was like, Monique, if you don't do nothing else, make sure that you get your stuff, with the licensing and
mm,
everything like that.
mhm,
What
mhm,
categories, because it's a million books out there. So it can be like, man, I just want you to Google search it and my book pop up, so get very savvy and creative with your categories. Because my book is kind of lumped in with like a sweet, clean kind of thing. So just get advice. There's free stuff on YouTube with a lot of accomplished authors that you ain't got to spend a whole lot of money on, and
mhm.
just kind of sit back, do all your research beforehand. That way, like me, I was like doing it in the middle of it, which was kind of a headache. So do your research ahead of time, have everything lined up, and it'll make your writing process. That way you can write relaxed and just be good to go.
Love it. And what do you desire next? I know you said that this is going to be like a series, there's another book. I mean, do you desire
Yes.
anything beyond that, or what do you think? I know you said the curriculum. So what's next?
Yeah. So besides the curriculum in the schools, I do motivational speaking that I'm tying in with this book for young girls. My big picture, I would love to have like a conference every year where our
Mm,
kids not only get to come in, because when they're in school now, it's so sad, but they really are, because a lot of our kids are not proficient in a lot of areas, so they're really trying to drill down on just like basic reading and math. But I'm like, no, kids need to explore.
yep.
So my vision would be to have a conference where we can bring in experts, writers, dancers, not just athletes. They can come to, but other aspects, STEM, acting, all those different things. Like, I looked up, a lot of our kids, they don't get to play golf, they don't get to wrestle, they don't get to do show choir, they don't get to do those things because the scoring. Everybody's like lasered in. I'm like, no, they're still children. They still need to have the opportunity to go out. And in my big picture, I would love this book to be a TV series.
Mm,
I dream and I really wanted to unify people because our country's so divided.
yep.
And I just like, man, if they could lump around, I remember when I was a kid, my cousin and I would just run and watch like Steve Urkel on Friday nights. Like, I don't know what unifying about that is, but it was something everybody could get together and watch, and there was no drama. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I would love this to be a series on Netflix if you're listening. I would love this to be a series about a predominantly upper class African American community.
Mhm.
And I mean, you can have however you want to do the characters, but that would be big picture. I'm manifesting that.
Yes, I'm all about that. And even going back to what you said, like just giving our kids opportunity to explore.
Hmm.
Something that I've learned and I'm just excited about is just like even with my own son, like he, we can be like, oh, our kids, they're all in technology and they're to this and that. And, me being his mother, he's reading, he's doing all those things as well. But at my building, we have a garden. And my son
Wow.
has now like fell in love with gardening. And
Wow.
I'm excited so he has that opportunity because I don't have a green thumb at
Me
all.
either.
So
I don't
he
like
would
bugs.
not have learned that he loved it with me, okay? Because I'm not
Love it.
doing nothing. But because we have it, and I have a friend who's been working, and he like every time he's coming, he's like, "Oh, Mom, I gotta go to the garden. We gotta." Like they were building the garden box. I mean, but again, it goes back to just allowing our kids to experience new things. Because who knows what that might bring into him, right? Maybe it'll
Yeah.
spark something, but just having that
You never know.
exposure, having that
Don't take our
exposure,
options.
just
Don't
giving
take our
options.
Yeah,
Like
don't take our options.
so that's why I love you saying like having acting and like kids don't even know they like it because they've never had a chance to do it. And so I think that's so important.
I'm working on that conference, girl. So it's gonna come.
Yeah, it's needed. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and as we're coming towards the end, I want before we talk about how people can stay connected, every month, depending on what the month theme is, I have a closing. And so for Black History Month, we talked about Black History, like songs on your playlist. And for Women's History Month, who are people that inspired you. And April was Poetry Month, but now it's mental health, right? This is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I'm super like anal when it comes to words because I truly believe words have power. They speak life. I mean, it matters. And I'm also someone who's big about affirmations. Like I have affirmations everywhere, bracelets, my screensaver. And so I would love if there are any sayings or mantras or scriptures or quotes or anything that are words that, going, I think, align with the chubby seasons that have helped you through any seasons. Like what would that be for you?
My go-to affirmation is through God all things are possible. And that I truly believe as it goes into the book per se, I believe that when you manifest things out there, it can come true.
Yeah.
And if you put it out there, you just got to keep telling yourself this too will pass, or these things. And nothing in this world is like, I really truly believe this. I said, God, Jesus is risen. He had already done the work. He's blessed me to live this on this planet and try and spread his word and do what I need to do as a Christian. But he's given me that leeway to be creative and to do all of these things and to make mistakes and to fall. And he's there to pick me up. So when I say through God, all things are possible, it truly is, because I wouldn't be sitting here writing a book right now. I had 50 other lanes to go growing up in Gary. 50,000 other ways to my life could have turned out. But I had a strong mother. I had a loving dad. I had a loving stepfather. I had loving people around me that was praying for me and pushed me. And through those things are possible. Because if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have got up and said, you know what, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to go get my master's degree. I'm going to go out and go back and teach my babies because they need somebody to look like them and somebody to care about them, to tell them they can go and do the same thing. Because my goal, oh my gosh, in life, I want our people to be able to go back home. I would love to move to Gary, but it's not safe. So I would love us to be able to say, you know what, I'm going to move back to my hometown. The jobs, all of that, it can start with one thing. And I really want my book to be that caveat, just to start the conversation of what life in our community could be like. I'm kind of old school, so I'm a small town girl. You ever watch that show Gilmore Girls? And I was like, man, we are close knit like that. And I said, wow, that could be our community, not like them per se, but just our own version of it. So through that, all things are possible.
So two things you said that stuck out to me, and as people are watching at the bottom, is how you can stay in contact and visiting and just following her on Facebook. When you talked about your conference, I'm so big about, like you said, coming back home and doing it in our spaces. And so I think that your conference would be perfect for Gary, because I
Yes.
think that Gary will benefit. I mean, Indianapolis as well, but I think that it's something about being in a space that you have such a history in, and you
Yes.
understand and you understand how kids in that neighborhood feel. You know what I mean? And I think that matters. And it matters. It also matters, what I've learned, for kids to see that you leave, but you come back.
You leave and you come back. And I said, my Lord, a lot of our schools are closed. So I said, I'm going to write a book where my kids can go and be proud and say, wow, I can sit here and read this and I can feel good about myself and confident in myself. And I can go out and do whatever I want to do. So I'm manifesting that conference for sure. Chi-Town's right across the way. I used to hang out in Chicago. I got family in Chicago.
Yes. So this has been beautiful. Thank you, Monique. For those who are just tuning in and listening, go back and watch it from the beginning. At the bottom is, again, how you can stay in contact with Monique and learn how to purchase her book. And as she said, on the different platforms, you can find it. And again, also, this is an opportunity for us to just add more literature to our home library. So go out, buy Chubby Seasons, stay in tune. So when she drops her second one, you can know when it's available. And I would just like to say, this is a close, and thank you for our author story time.
Thank you so much. Good luck, everybody. Don't stop. Believe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.